Manfred Wittrock, or Professor Doctor, sorry, I got the tutorial of that from my private tutor.
Yeah, we were just kind of trying to figure out the differences, I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Wittrock's area of research is emotional behavioral disorders, and he is the Dean of the College of Education at University Oldenburg. And Dr. Karsten Speck, who is the soon-to-be Dean of the College of Education. And they will be talking about the German education system. We're very pleased to have you here.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your introduction. And at first I apologize that we are not so trained in the English language. It is very easy for us in Germany to read English textbooks or something like that, so we are very trained to understand the English language, but we are not so trained to speak English because maybe we have only 5 times a year the opportunity, because it's not so common to speak to German students in English. So I apologize that maybe sometimes we won't find the correct word or the correct phrase. But in the last 20 years I've been visiting the United States, I know that you are so friendly and you are so, what is the empathic?
Yeah, empathic.
Empathic, so you will understand us. And so we will start to tell you that it is very important for us that you can ask us what you would like to ask us, because we can present you a lot of Germany, the German system, educational system, the study programs in Germany. We can talk about teacher education, we can talk about special education programs, doctoral programs, and research, and I think it's too much. So it would be great if we can, if I can be sure that you are not shy to ask the questions you have. So we will start with a short overview. Oh, well,
it's okay. Okay, we have 2 wishes to you. Firstly, we want to stimulate our exchange program, and we have to speak about the possibilities in the next year and about the PhD students, for instance, which come to Oldenburg, or the members of the faculty. And we are interested to speak about the research areas which we can share, for instance, top out, for instance, community schools, and so on. Okay.
So, but first I see if we have to explain, maybe it is very curious for you if we are using the word faculty in German in a different manner. Sometimes we are using it in your manner, because it is an English presentation, and sometimes we are using it in our manner, because in our European tradition, it comes from Italy, faculty is college. Because our colleges are called faculty, not the members. You are using faculty for the scientific members of a college, and we are using the word faculty as college. It's the same meaning than college. So sometimes our phrases may be a little bit different for you. And the second is, I hope you have heard that we have together a memorandum of understanding, and within the memorandum of understanding between our 2 universities, we have a so-called short-term exchange program on a one-to-one basis. It's therefore on a one-to-one basis because it's cheaper. Yes, it's really cheaper. And it's not only cheaper, it gives you the opportunity to learn from each other in the everyday lives. That means more than to share research interest, to learn what happens in the community, because if you are living on a one-to-one basis, you learn about community, you learn of everyday life with the
And
differences.
you can share your car, you can share your water, and so on. It's a good possibility.
Again?
Could be good, could be bad.
The car was broken. And,
Yeah, that was just a joke that was led to us.
Yeah.
So we had a breakdown yesterday night, and we had no water this morning.
oh no.
But we are here.
Yes, you can learn, you can see
So another
accidents,
lifestyle.
you can learn, and so on. And to solve problems, you
Yes.
can learn.
Yeah.
Of course, you see. And this is on a one-to-one basis, but it doesn't mean that it would be a great idea that faculty members come to Oldenburg and with a special idea. So we have said we can exchange ideas on a common basis because we are represented, our faculty of education and social sciences, so we know the interests of our colleagues, so we can arrange new contacts between your interests and the interests of our college. And we have own, so it means special. So if someone has some wishes or a question, please, now, then I can remember the question and can look at this place it would be to answer this question. Are there special questions? Please.
I have a special question.
Yeah.
It's maybe a strange question. I'm interested in how the teacher training programs in your region differ from Baden-Wurttemberg, because where the University of Tübingen is located. Because I know it's unique.
It is.
Yeah. All right, teacher training programs. All right. I will remember. That is teacher training program.
Other questions? Wishes? More wishes? You can ask us, okay?
Yeah? Please, don't be shy. All right.
That is an education structure?
Yeah.
I start? You see here Germany, and you see also 60 federal states, and that means in Germany we have 16 different educational systems. Different staffs, different books, different aims, and if you leave, for instance, Saxonia, and you will go to Lower Saxonia, it's possible that you get difficult or troubles because you have the knowledge or the curriculum of this area. In the north you see Oldenburg, and our university is here in the middle of Germany. I think you see it in the middle. We have in Oldenburg 14,000 students at the moment, I would say, and 250 academic staffs or scientific staffs, I would say.
Professor.
Professors.
You see, we have.
Okay, professors. Okay. Okay. I have the next picture, and thank you for that. And Lilian.
Just one thing.
Okay.
Because for explanation, you see next to Oldenburg is our smallest province, like Rhode Island. And yes, it's really very similar to Rhode Island because it's only a city, but one of our provinces. And you should know this province is in the educational system very different because officially it is fully inclusive. You will find no special classes in theory. And so you will have different study programs at the University of Bremen. Bremen is only 30 miles from Oldenburg again. But if you are going maybe to North Rhine-Westphalia, everything is very similar. So, like in your system, from state to state, there are huge differences or very small differences. And Bremen is very special. And Berlin is very special. You have to. If you have differences in our educational system and you are interested in the differences, go to Bremen and compare it to Baden-Württemberg, to Tübingen. Here you find huge differences. So next by to Oldenburg, short trip to Bremen. We have very close contact to Bremen. You can learn a huge difference. So, and
I forgot. This is the area Lower Saxonia here, the yellow. And we have, I think, 3 or 4 universities here. For instance, in Hanover, in Braunschweig, in Göttingen, and also in Oldenburg. And in Oldenburg, we have the responsibility for teacher training for all
areas, types.
for all types, for primary school and so on. That means in Lower Saxonia, Oldenburg has a big responsibility in teacher education, and we are under the 5 universities in the national ranking in teacher education and special needs education. Okay. It's okay. Okay, let's start. Here you can see the educational system. This is a chart which we steal from Beth and Vivian. Thank you.
It's all right. It's a pleasure.
And it's a very easy chart. We have more difficult charts, but I think it's enough, and it's difficult enough. Okay, we start with the kindergarten. It's only a possibility. Nobody has to go to the kindergarten, but it's a good chance for the development of children with disabilities, for instance. And in our kindergarten, we have a lot of inclusive kindergartens, and in this area, we have not so much inclusive schools. I think the kindergartens are 90%, or 90% of our kindergartens are inclusive, for instance, and in the schools, I would say 20% to 30%, I don't know. You have the
It's the top 3%, maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe less.
Less, okay.
Less.
Yeah.
Okay. The primary school from 6 to 10, it depends from the federal state, and then we have a very exclusive, I would say, exclusive system. We have Gymnasium, grammar school, the Gesamtschule, comprehensive school. In the comprehensive school there are a lot of different types of schools. These are schools on a high level for, yes,
Yeah.
I would say. The middle schools and the lost schools, I would say. The main school, only 5% of our students are in the main school because the image of the main school is very low. It's only for people or for students which haven't enough support from parents and also from teachers. And I think in 5 or 10 years we haven't this type of school in Germany.
And we will have all comprehensive. We are on the way to the system to have a middle school, a comprehensive school, and a grammar school. And then the middle school and the comprehensive school will be together in some of our states. They are more and more together, and then we'll have a system of the so-called more middle schools for all, the comprehensive school, and we have still then the gymnasium. The gymnasium is our ranking school.
It's a closed job.
And very seldom you will find children with special needs.
And we forgot the schools, special schools, and this is also, I think, for students which are older. After the secondary school,
Secondary
yes, you can go to different colleges, to university or to applied university. In Germany we have a big difference between traditional universities and applied universities. And the universities has the competencies to give or to teach PhD students, and the applied universities have not this possibility. And I would say in Baden-Württemberg, the universities for teacher education are not universities at the name, but they are universities. I would say, is correct, Manfred?
Yes, you can't translate it because Baden-Württemberg is the only of our 16 provinces who have still specialized universities for teacher education called pedagogical universities. But it's the only province. All other provinces have, the main difference is university, within the university is the teacher education, and applied universities without the right for doctoral programs. That's the main difference. The applied universities are more for engineering, for architects, and something like that. And the university has the full broad range of courses up to doctoral programs. So you will find at our university in all colleges or faculties doctoral programs. That's traditional. A university has doctoral programs and applied universities are not. We have some, maybe because it's a huge difference to your system, we have only very, very few private colleges. We have only 1 or 2 private universities. Some are calling themselves university, but they have only 1 college, mainly the College of Business. We have a lot of private business schools. But not like you, our system is run by the states. Every university except 2, but they are not very business orientated. One is more orientated to the theory of Rudolf Steiner, Waldorf, I don't know. Is one.
You might know
Montessori.
Steiner education. Montessori approach?
Yeah, the Waldorf Montessori is
Yeah.
famous.
Yeah.
But all others are state universities. And the private are mainly business. And in Bremen we have 1 private university, but maybe next year not longer,
Yeah.
because in Germany it's uncommon to go to a private university. They get not enough students. They get not enough students to pay 20,000 a year, because we have to mention, by law, education is free in Germany. All stages of education.
You have to pay
Every
in the school
case.
and also nothing in the
Even for
university.
doctoral students, by law, education is free. By law. So you can understand it is very hard for a private university to be competitive except business. Some of our huge companies have applied universities, private applied universities, to create their own potential for managers. Sometimes it's good, sometimes you have read it today in your newspaper, it's not so good, because Volkswagen has also applied private university, for example.
Wer ist Volkswagen?
Über dem End von Hannover.
Volkswagen ist
Nee,
hier.
in dem End von Hannover.
Okay, here.
Like there, yeah.
Here. In Lower Saxonia.
But far away
Most-
from Oldenburg.
It's
So we
our
have nothing
most
to do with
important company in Lower Saxony. The most important company in Germany, and the most important company in Germany is in Lower Saxony, and it's Wolfswegen, you know. Now we have some problems because our politicians are really in fear in Lower Saxony because of the money, because Volkswagen brings money to Lower Saxony and brings money to the universities, because Volkswagen gives every year 8 to 16 million euros to the universities in Lower Saxony, not to education. So we are not in fear. No, no, no. Natural sciences, not.
Okay.
So, Kirsten,
Yeah.
how do they,
Yeah.
the secondary 1 and 2, how do students get channeled into the different
Okay.
schools? And they're all public, there aren't any private schools secondary?
The secondary, the most of the secondary schools are public, of course. The primary schools, secondary schools on this level are, the most of the schools are public. We have in a lot of schools which are private, for instance, the church
Run by the church.
funded, or some parents open a school. But you have to know that in Germany, all students have to go in a school, and the government has the law to say yes or no to a school. Every curriculum has to need an agreement of the government. That means sometimes the government hasn't an interest to get more private schools, because they have the public schools, and if they have on the other hand private schools, they lost students in public schools, and it's not the interest of the government, because they have to pay the public schools and the private schools, or to support the private schools.
And you have to say, the difference is, and it's very interesting because there is a difference between Germany and Austria, both German-speaking countries. In Austria, it is mandatory to get lessons, to be educated, but you can do it at home in Austria. In Germany, it's mandatory to go to school at least 9, in most provinces 10 years, plus 1 vocational school. Because at least 9 years to have to go to a school, not to be educated. There's really a difference. So schooling is mandatory for at least 9, in most provinces 10 years, and always plus 1. Because a German youngster has to go to a vocational school or to be enrolled at a university. If you are enrolling at a university, you haven't to go to a vocational school. All other has to go to a vocational school. And you see different types of vocational schools, full-time and part-time vocational schools. To learn a trade, you have to go to a vocational school. To be a craftsman, you have to go to a, because you can only be a trained craftsman, be a trained accountant. Always to be you need a certificate. So most of them have to go for 3 years to a vocational school to learn a trade, or to be a banking officer, 3 years to go to a vocational school. Except you are going to a university, I've always to say. That's the difference. But all other, even children, or special, to say that children with special needs are going to a vocational school, special programs too.
I think what you were interested to know is how the transition is made from primary school. So how do teachers and parents decide to which type of secondary school the kids go to? Is it due to ability? Maybe you can tell us about
different solutions in every federal state.
Yeah.
Sometimes the parents have the choice. Sometimes the school, the teachers give Empfehlung,
like a recommendation?
Give a recommendation. Sometimes the schools or the teachers have the decision. I think that's all. And sometimes we haven't. We haven't notes. Sometimes the government say you need exam with 2 or 3, and if you're over this level, you can't visit a grammar school. That's the answer on your question, or not?
Is it, yeah, so does it,
No.
does it end up a function of, it answers my question, now I have another question. Does
Okay.
it end up a function of class or other issues or family issues or, you know,
Oh.
particularly of parents or?
If you are looking at the OECD reports every year, there are 2 countries all over the world who are very, very unfair, Germany and the United States. In Germany, it's enough to know which are the education of the parents and the job of the father. Then you can say what will the school career of a child. It's very easy in Germany to know. It's a close correlation. If you are coming from a family with a lower income background or with a background as a foreigner, not Western foreigner. You don't use the word foreigner for people in Denmark or the United States. A foreigner means coming from Eastern Europe or from the Far East or the Near East. And so we are really, our 2 countries are the unfairest in education all over the world. Because in our 2 countries we need only the information about the education of mother and father and the employment in most cases of the father. And then you know the aspiration, the educational aspiration is very different. It's not only the money, you must know, because education is free in Germany, really free. We have enough schools, next corner there's a school, but the aspiration to the educational system depends on economic status. But not alone, because if you see only for the money, most of our students are poor by numbers. Because students, most of our students in our university are young mothers. And they are poor because their income is less than 60% of the average of our whole population. But they have a close aspiration to education. So sometimes only to look for income, from my point of view, is wrong. Most statistics are only looking what is the income and then the meaning, because we have to look for the educational aspiration. I don't know if you are using the word aspiration, because we are using it. Also, what is
Like the expectations?
aspiration is how close you are to the concept of education. How close you are thinking education is important. School is important. I would like, and then you give it to your child, these expectations, and this is very different. And so our 2 countries, if you are reading the studies of the OECD, then we are leading on equality.
So
We share.
can I ask then, because we've had that in the United States previously, say 4 or 5 decades ago,
Yeah.
that difference, which would have still been pervasive, was not as big of a factor in the long-term trajectory of a student, because with a vocational, with a secondary education, some vocational training, you could still have a successful career as in vocation. In the United States now, that's becoming less and less common. So if you just graduate from high school, your earnings are far less relative to those who graduated from college or graduate school. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so is that still the case in Germany as well, or not?
I think we have to discuss, it's a very interesting discussion from my point of view, the importance of a vocational school system. And that it is mandatory as such a vocational, because you are right, we have the chance that we can, das heißt erreichen, that we can reach the needs of a child at least very late at vocational schools. So we have a lot of programs for educational disadvantaged youngsters in vocational school. but maybe these programs are good, because we have some good programs and some not so good programs in our vocational school. And the good ones, they are very, very good, because even youngsters from less from an economic depressed background can start a career, really
Right.
a career, because we are in need of skilled workers. If you are a skilled worker in Germany, you will get tomorrow a job,
Right.
because we have so low unemployment rate. We need skilled workers. Every huge company are looking every day for skilled workers. And this is the importance of our vocational program. So I think this discussion is very important.
Yeah, so if you were to like graph the US earnings by degree for the last, say, 50 years, high school diploma has been losing relative to those who go to college, and substantially. So in the 1950s, 60s, it sort of peaked in the US, whereas if you had a high school diploma,
Yeah,
you were sometimes better off than those who had a college degree
yeah.
or making similar amounts. Now, that is not the case. You're far worse off. And so we're trying, I mean, that's one of the reasons where here the inequity has become such a big issue, because it has such pervasive, it's so influential later in life.
I think we haven't the same situation, but we have an interesting development. We have more and more students at our universities.
Okay.
For instance, for 2 years we had in Oldenburg 12,000 students, and now we have 14,000 students. That means 2,000 students in 2 years. That's for a little university such as the University of Oldenburg, a lot of students. We haven't enough rooms, we haven't enough staffs, we haven't enough professors for such students. And I think that's the interest of our deans, of our president, and also of the governments, but the context or the resources are not increased at the same time. And I think in the next years we have a lot of challenges.
So we have this very, very seldom situation.
Okay.
All over the world we have money. Really?
We have.
Our faculty, our college has money to hire persons. But we won't
We
hire,
don't record it.
because our school system is so competitive. If our young researchers are going to school, they get at least the same amount of money like in the university. But they get tenure. And in the university you need years to get tenure. So most of the young graduates are going to the school system. Maybe for 2 years they are highly interested to go back to university, but only for 2 years. In the third year that, oh, my position is so good, I have now tenure, I won't come back. So it's very, very hard to find enough faculty members in education, and especially the need in special education is so high, because we have such a lack of special ed professionals.
Right.
So everyone is looking for special ed professionals
At the moment.
at the moment. I think for the next 7 years.
Yeah.
Then maybe now in the next 10 years, while I know that more than 1 million refugees will come to Germany this year.
Right.
That means more than 200,000 youngsters. That means nearly 200,000 youngsters with a traumatic background. That means a lot to do with special ed. It sounds very skeptic, but I think I'm right. And they will stay.
Right.
They will stay.
I think it's very interesting for you to hear that we get in the next 5 years 9 new professors add on in our faculty for special need education. And 20, 25 academic staffs. That means in 5 years, I think we are one of the biggest special need education department faculty in Germany. But only the reason is that our government said, oh, we have to do something in teacher education for our students with special needs. How can we do it? Okay, we need more teacher training, but that means, what's the conclusion? That means 5 years we need for the training in our university. Then 2 years for the practice in schools and the training. That
We have
means
an internship, mandatory internship to become a fully licensed teacher. To become a fully licensed teacher means in Germany 7 years of training. 3 years
Can you imagine?
bachelor, 2 years master, but full-time programs. I mean
full-time.
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 If not full-time, it needs longer. But 3 years bachelor full-time, 2 years master full-time, 2 years internship, and then you are a fully licensed teacher all over Germany. That means then you are fully licensed for all 16 provinces. Then there are no longer any differences. You can go to every school who are interested in whole Germany, because our fully licensed teacher, the licenses are nationwide. But to become a fully licensed teacher, then you need 7 years. So we need the next 5 years so many trained special ed people, and in 7 years we will have the first leaving our university.
At this moment,
This is
we have enough students because in the schools, because our students are not increased in the next years. We have not so much students.
Our problems, but you.
Yeah, my problem.
It's very seldom, but it's right. We
Okay.
have money, but no professionals. That's typical German. We have money, but not professionals.
But just for the institutions, not for the persons.
No,
So
the
I
institution.
don't have enough money.
Das war mal schon so das Buch ein bisschen zum
Ja.
Ja.
Wir müssen
Have you had any-
springen aus.
Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts or questions regarding the teacher or the education system? Otherwise, we would turn to the research interests.
Wir können kurz nochmal darauf nur.
We can give you some information about it.
Ja,
Can I translate for you?
thank you.
You can it better.
There was a question about the differences between Baden-Wurttemberg and Lower Saxony in teacher training programs. Nowadays, every German university has a so-called Bologna system. In the past, we have a so-called European system. The European system was different from the Anglo-American system. Till 2004, we have our European system. Now we have your system. That means bachelor-master system. And so I can say there are no differences because we have a 3-year bachelor program with 180 credit hours. So our students have to stay at university longer and more than you, because our master's program is 2 years and means 120 credit hours. That means 9 courses a week. If you will do it in 2 years, it means 9 courses a week for 4 semesters to become an MEd, Master of Education. And only with a Master of Education, there's an agreement between all 16 states, except Bremen, 15 states, that at the end, the people who has a Master of Education can go to this internship program that is paid, this internship program, because this is an internship program by the state, because the states don't trust their own universities. That is typical German. Yes, because the states are really different than universities. The university are always more interested to develop, to get new ideas. And the states are always more conservative. So the states don't trust us. So they said at the end, each MEd graduate has to go to a state internship program with courses again and so on. And at the end, but this is in 15 of all our 16 provinces the same. 3 years bachelor, 180 credit hours, 2 years masters, 120 credit hours, then accreditation as a first examination, state examination, same all over, then to go to an internship. So a lot of our students leaving our university with a Master of Education degree are going, for example, to our most important state, to North Rhine-Westphalia. It's the most important state in Germany. Most people are living in North Rhine-Westphalia. That's no problem. If you have a graduation in special ed, you can go. Only Bavaria is a little bit different.
Another
Officially the same, but you can't imagine only people from Bavaria are getting an internship in Bavaria. If you are born in Bavaria and have studied in Bavaria, you can be sure to get an internship in Bavaria. If you are only studying in Bavaria but not born in Bavaria, it's harder.
We like to call Bavaria the second Germany.
I think I heard it referred to as like Texas.
Yeah, it's the same.
So it's pretty much the same, I guess.
Bavaria is
Very
really
proud,
different.
a little Wild West.
Bavaria is really different. So the people are laughing all over Germany. It's not only in Lower Saxony, but Bavaria is really a little bit different. Not like Texas, I think no.
Okay.
Not
So that-
such huge difference.
The first 3 years, the bachelor, are they studying education at that point
Yeah.
completely or just for part of their coursework?
We have coursework, and we have also clear courses only for teaching and instruction.
Yeah. So it is a difference. If you are studying education in our faculty, you can choose between two different tracks. One is the Master of Education track. That means you are more trained in teaching, or the Master of Arts in Education. Then you are more trained in counseling and assistance, or more for the youth welfare system, for youth agencies, for foster homes and foster care situation. It's
Outside
more
of
out of
schools.
school.
Out of school.
And more family-orientated help. So the MA in Germany, Master of Education, is not a teaching strand.
And for instance, Manfred is a member of the Department of Special Needs, and they have the responsibility for the teachers, and I'm a member of the other department, for the Department of Education, and my colleagues and I, we have the responsibility for the staff outside of the school, social workers, the staff in lifelong learning, in migration, education, and so on. Different ways.
Another question. So you were mentioning that one of the differences between what is your region called, Commander? Is what? It's Bremen? It's
Primary school?
Bremen.
Bremen.
Baden-Württemberg
Yeah.
and then Bremen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So one of the differences between Baden-Württemberg and Bremen is that in Baden-Württemberg they separate the Pädagogische Hochschule
Yes.
from the Universität. But if you go to the Pädagogische Hochschule, you can only become a teacher for Realschule and Hauptschule? Is that correct?
yes, we are true.
And so when,
Oh yes, there's a
when-
difference, because in Baden-Württemberg and some provinces, but especially in Baden-Württemberg, there is again a second difference, because the teacher training programs we have to mention, but that's the same nearly all over Germany, and Lower Saxony is only an example for it, are divided. You can be trained, it's very curious in Germany. You can be trained as a primary school teacher, that means at the end you get less money paid, because as younger a child, less paid the teachers. That's German. Then you can become a teacher for primary school and main school. Curious, because different ages.
Yeah.
Then you can become a teacher for main school and middle school, third strength. Then you can join a training program for secondary school and comprehensive schools and middle schools. Then you can go to a vocational training school program. Then you can go to a secondary 2 training program. And then you can go to a special ed program. And that means younger children, less money for the teachers. They all studied 5 years.
If you are here and you work in the kindergarten, you get a very low money.
You need no master's degree and so on. And the most you can earn if you are going to a gymnasium.
The grammar school.
Kind of
Grammar
Less paid
school.
teachers.
If you're qualified to teach at a gymnasium, if you finish that program, could you teach at the other schools as well?
Yes,
Example,
that's possible.
So you
But
can-
if you have only exam for middle school,
Yeah,
in the most cases you have the chance to teach in a grammar school.
okay.
Only if they haven't enough teachers. They say, okay, it's possible.
But I think that will be hearsay.
But it's
That
possible that
not all teachers are fully licensed.
and sometimes you don't get the money to teach here,
Mhm.
but you get not the money because you have your only exam for the middle school.
And is that the same for the special needs teachers? They also are educated at these
No,
different
no,
levels?
that's very interesting, because the teaching strength for special needs education is not fixed to a school. Because all programs are fixed to a school, primary school, teacher, but our students are trained teachers in special needs education. You don't use in the final certificate. It's not a name of a school. All others are trained teachers for primary school, secondary 1, and so on. But special ed teachers, that's a trick, a political trick. You can start 1 year before primary school for transition to some traditional work, especially diagnostic. And you can, and that's the first year of a vocational school training program, because there are some special programs at vocational school. And if you are a fully licensed special needs teacher, not special ed teacher in school, then you can go everywhere. Even to a so-called, we have forgotten on our sign, because another part of our educational system are the called community schools. You have community colleges. We have community colleges too. And we have a lot of programs for young people with special needs, especially for so-called educational disadvantage. And they are run by our community colleges. And again, you can teach at a community college. Because it's not fixed to a school. Because officially we are on the way to full inclusion. Officially. We are on the way to full inclusion. So we don't need any longer a school. In theory. It's like your Centennial School, a brilliant school in a fully inclusive setting. A brilliant school, and it is no joke, but it is a special school. But sometimes you need, even in a fully inclusive setting, some specialized schools. And I think that will be in Germany the same. In 10 years we won't have any longer this discussion. And Bremen will show that it isn't possible to have a whole huge city without any specialities. That's a Bremen theory, and it will fail. It's failing
Already.
already. It isn't possible. high unemployment rate, and so on and so on. A lot of problems, drugs and so on. All right, that was to teacher training. Very interesting, but very different. So again, I think it's very interesting to do some comparative studies, because we can learn from each other much. Because in Germany, I don't have the impression here, we have, when we are to talk a lot about special education system in Germany, I think it's not time enough. We are on the way to full inclusion, and we have from fully inclusive classrooms. The problem in fully inclusive classrooms is in Lower Saxony, 3 to 5 hours a week is there a special needs teacher. No 2-adult system. You won't find any 2-adult system in Germany, never ever.
No.
And
No counseling.
maybe if there is a good principal, maybe the principal says I have 16 classes, the special ed teacher should go to 2. Then there are 2 adults in one classroom, because for each classroom you have 3 to 5 hours a week special ed help
And
by
the
a
school
trained special ed teacher.
And the school psychologists are responsible for several schools at the same time in the same district. So
They
the
are
school
outside of the
counselor drives around the schools to do the counseling work. You would never been employed by a school when you're a school
In a
psychologist.
German school you find always only teachers, even in very huge German
And
schools.
sometimes school social workers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Sometimes school social
and
workers.
some special ed teachers are trained counselors and so on and so on. But we have, that is the difference, in your college you have programs for counseling.
Mhm.
We haven't in Germany programs, university programs for counseling. In special ed we have a lot of counseling, so our students in theory are trained in counseling in theory. But we have no programs in counseling, so a lot of counseling is within the special ed system again, because a special ed teacher can be in every school. And we are not multi-professional, except we have good ideas about the social work in school. There we have really good multi-professional ideas, very good multi-professional ideas.
And perhaps the problem in Germany is not the counseling. I think we have a lot of professions inside and outside of the school, but we haven't a training in the universities, and we haven't the collaboration between the different professions. That means sometimes 5 or 6 professions work together with the students and the parents, but nobody knows that. They work in the school, outside of the school, only with the parents, only with the student. I think that's the problem. Some colleague of a ministry told us in a commission that if you have one teacher, we have 7 person which have the responsibility for the counseling, but no collaboration. That means perhaps we have the resources, but we haven't the collaboration, we haven't a training, we haven't no rules and no understanding for the other few. I would say that's a problem.
I think that's better in your system,
Yeah.
because in your schools I find several professions. In Germany you find only teachers, and so in Germany everyone has the idea, because I have only teachers, then I need someone who is more trained in counseling, I need someone who is more trained in diagnostics, so I need someone who is more trained maybe in some therapy and so on and so on. So very active schools has only teachers, but a lot of teachers have several more qualifications. But officially everyone is a teacher, and again, if the child are young, you get less money as it is a youngster. Very curious, but because special ed is responsible for all ages, is a little bit better paid. Because it's responsible for all. From kindergarten, that means age 4 for us, up to vocational school, that means maybe 21. If you are going to a school within a youth facility, in a youth correctional facility, then maybe you are working up to 25. It's not so uncommon to work in a juvenile correctional facility. You can be a teacher there. Then again, you can get a little bit more money because they are elder. But you have to stay there 40 hours a week.
And do you have the same disability categories as we do?
Yes.
And is training across all disability categories? They're trained in every category?
Yes. So in bachelor, the bachelor programs, our programs are cross-categorial. We call it cross-categorial. And in the master's program, because of the educational system, not because the university has a meaning, you have to decide to study 2 categories. So our students at the end of MEd are trained in 2 categories. But that's again all over Germany, except Bremen. But in Baden-Württemberg too, there is 2 categories. Maybe intellectual disabilities and EBD, we call it emotion. That's the same meaning. We call it emotional and behavioral disabilities too. Yes. The abbreviation is different in German. That's right. Speech and language we have, and so on. But let's come to it late. Because we have.
Sie haben schon?
Ja, haben Sie die alle verteilt?
Yes.
Dann alle?
Can you give me one? Yes, thank you.
Because for us it is at least important to say if someone is.
We are here.
Yeah. Short introduction again. Maybe it is unusual, or you say that it's regular in the United States. Our whole college of faculty has decided that we have one huge research topic that means participation and education, or social participation and education for all. That is the part for the educational departments, and in the social departments, in the social sciences department, there are social inequalities. The overline, the headline, is participation and education, and in the educational department is social participation and education for all, exactly the impression for all, and in our Department of Social Sciences it is social inequalities. That means social depressed groups in our society. And in our Department of Education, there's a main focus on diversity education, migration, education and cultural studies, and learning, teaching and profession. You see again the teacher track within learning, teaching and profession for the MEd. And in the Department of Special Education and Rehabilitation, we have 2 main focuses. Individuals and families at risk, and healthcare and social rehabilitation. Again, you see the 2 tracks. 1, school absenteeism, dropout, or inclusion and exclusion between resilience and risk, is more school-orientated, is more children-educated, and the other, healthcare and social rehabilitation, is more orientated to out-of-school work. But you must know we have healthcare and social rehabilitation because we have a College of Health and Medicine. So we have now the first combined programs. Health and Care is this program, and this is a combined program of the College of Medicine and Health and our college, Health and Care. And so we have some specialities in healthcare and social, and it's not a mistake to write rehabilitation in a different manner, because every rehabilitation is a habilitation. There's no rehabilitation without habilitation. So this is a program to write it like this. But our the Department of Education has decided that it is not allowed to use it in official papers. Not allowed.
So this is just an informal information sheet for you.
Not allowed to use a certificate to write it in this manner, on a certificate, on a degree, because that university can't do such a mistake. We have tried to explain it, but the people has studied Jura. Law. Unbelievable for people who studied law to think like that. And you see, that's our interest, and we have the chance to look for, maybe for the future, for new plans to discuss. Do you have, yeah? Carsten and I, we are interested at this time in school absenteeism and dropout in a special meaning, because we would like to discuss if there is a research gap in the part of school absenteeism called withdrawal from school by parents. And I have till now no English word for it, because we mean that it is a threat of child welfare. And for threat of child welfare we have a German word for it, but you have no word for it. So if a child is in risk,
The well-being of the child is in risk.
then we have a word for it. And then we must be act if we see that a child is in risk. It's by law, but nobody does it. If you talk to our youth agencies, they say, oh yes, we know that it's a topic, but would you like really to do it, to make research in this field? The school don't like it, the parents don't like it, we, the youth agency, don't like it, because, as you see, that is a meaning. Withdrawal from school by parents has many
What do you
cases.
call it? I'm thinking of Department of Child Welfare. Would they put that in neglect? If a parent is keeping a child from school?
So we do have a translation for neglect and maltreatment, but we do have another word for describing that the well-being is in danger. So we've got one word that is combined of two nouns. We do a lot of compound nouns in Germany. That summarizes that the well-being of children is in danger. That's just a fixed term by law.
Does child welfare look at that as neglect when parents are keeping children from school?
I mean, some people, you see stuff in the newspaper that they get arrested.
Yeah, I think
Parents
that's
who get
true.
arrested.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would be considered neglect, but
I don't think it, here I don't think it would rise to child welfare if you're not going to school. I think you're just breaking a misdemeanor and you're fined or you're
Yeah.
eventually put in jail, but it's not seen as, I don't know that it would be seen as neglectful. It would need to be within some.
It is like an offense. So
It would-
the
yes,
parents
it
can
would be an
taken to
offense, but
court
it's
if
not
they don't make sure that the well-being
I don't think
is
it would
alright.
get, I don't think it would get categorized under like
I
the
think
child welfare.
I think it also
system.
would be depending on the child's age as
yeah,
well.
what age are you talking about?
They're talking about more well, you have problems in like 5th grade, 6th
Yeah.
grade, right? So
Yeah.
I think if we saw it in 5th and 6th grade, it would be
The truant officers would be at their house, trying to get them to school.
Yeah, we don't have truant officers.
Yes, so again, maybe it is very interesting to do some comparative work there, because the threat of child welfare is all over the world, and especially in our societies like yours and ours, we think that school is so important, but withdrawal from school has many reasons, and maybe we can start to talk about what could be the reasons. That is culture, that is religion, that is maybe illness of parents, one of our main problems are psychiatric ill parents, the so-called young carer problematic, and we have sometimes families with a very different background of culture, and we have families who are very far away from education.
Yeah.
So in every case, if a child won't go to school, from our point of view, this child welfare is in danger, because we know that this is a research result. Education is the key for development. If someone is in our countries not educated, you have no chance to succeed in our societies. You need education in our societies. And this very easy thinking was by Nelson Mandela. Nelson is from Nelson Mandela, that education is the key. But in our countries we have not such a discussion, and we think we need research in this area, because it is important for students of 6 and of 16. It is important for primary school, and it is important for our vocational schools. But the highest absenteeism rate is in vocational schools. Well, no one is really interested, because they are 16.
Yeah,
They are 16.
And even the American research states kind of that there is kind of research gap within school withdrawal. I've just looked into some books at the bookshelf, and it was a book by Kearney. Is he called Kearney, the author? Kerny, whatever.
Kearney.
Yeah,
I
Kearney.
know that.
Yeah. So Kearney and another lady, she worked for NASP. She's called Mary Wimmer. She identified in her latest research on evidence-based practices for school refusal the category school withdrawal as well. But she just kind of lists all the possible reasons for school withdrawal and just mentioned these are the reasons, but there hasn't been any research done to figure out how to approach this. So we're kind of on the level that everybody is aware of that topic, but because of the missing access to the target group, we don't know how to do the research and how a possible research design can look like.
But you should know, so we have written down some research interests, and it is not only school absenteeism and dropout. It was only an idea because in both countries school is mandatory, the dropout rate is a problem, and or the expelling, what is not the Rauschmeißrate?
The dropout, the withdrawal, it is called withdrawal as well.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
withdrawal. If
Yeah.
the school says you should no
The
longer come to
suspensions.
suspensions, or to talk about suspension and the results of suspension, very interesting part of the discussion. But if someone of you is interested in the whole area, so we have written down inclusion and exclusion between resilience and risk. So because risk factors are for special ed, till today very important. We are always talking about resilience. Yes, that's really important. But we have to talk also about risk factors and what we can do. Preventive, but also interventive, because my interest, of course, all right, are more youngsters. So it's so important to do prevention. But in Germany we have more and more youngsters in danger, in problem. And then I can't any longer discuss prevention. It's very nice to talk about what should happen when this youngster was 5. He's 16 and he is in arrest. Or he's 16 and in therapy. Or he's 16 and has a psychiatric disease. What now? We must be capable as a special ed to deal with these problems. We have to handle these problems in transition areas and lifelong. So more and more, because our society has a change, the society is getting elder and elder. So we like to train our students for lifelong learning. Maybe you will work in 20 years in adult education, because we have so good adult education programs. And again, we must be capable to do adult education with people with special needs. That's the future. Because babies are more and more decreasing in our societies, the people are getting elder. For example, I've explained Lee, we have a program, more and more program and discussion next week about some knowledge for rehabilitation. People are interested in our study program for rehabilitation. Stroke. Most people think stroke is only a medical issue. And the family of the person who has a stroke. Because more and more children and youngsters get a stroke in our two countries. Because of our good nutrition we use. Fast food and so on. And what that? We need people who can manage and counsel the family, who can train the person, and so on and so on. A lot of discussion. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, some possible
You got
research
it.
areas, for instance, and the second point is your. The first point explains
Yes,
Manfred. We have a research group, not only Manfred and I. We have a research group in Oldenburg for this topic. For the second and third topic, it's, for instance, my interest. I have a lot of research projects in school social work, and you have more experience in Germany. We expand this topic. Inclusion and exclusion, of course. For instance, the behavior of students. We have a lot of intervention studies. I think that's there we have a good opportunity to, for collaboration. We have a lot of projects for comparative and international research. For instance, we are one of 6 African excellence centers in Germany, and we have the one excellence center in research methods and research and educational management and educational research in Germany.
That's Carsten again.
Yes, I have a little, together with other colleagues, the responsibility for the center. We have a research group for media literacy. You have to decide, you have the possibilities. If you say, I have an idea, we can do it. I think it's necessary to say, okay, 1 or 2 points, but I think we have an exchange, we have the possibility to collaborate in research, of course.
And maybe there's another point I thought about when we talked with Gary Sasso. It would be, from my point of view, very interesting to discuss different theories, backgrounds, and the impact of the theories. For example, in Oldenburg, in the special ed department, we have a strong connection to the so-called field theory of Kurt Lewin. Not so much well known in the States, but it was a theory who starts in the United States. Kurt Lewin has started here in the United States, and we have a strong impact that the field theory and the person environment analysis is a good instrument in the special ed area, because then you have both the systems approach and the personalized approach, and the field theory is really both. It is earlier than all others, but it is person-centered and system-centered. And so there are some theories to talk about the impact of the theories. I think that would be for research also very interesting to talk about impact of a theory. Because we in Germany are a little bit more orientated to talk about the theoretical background. Everyone who writes a thesis have at first to discuss the theoretical background. Without discussing the theoretical background, you can't write the thesis. It's not possible in Germany. So, and you are a little bit more empirical orientated. That is important for us. Maybe again, we can exchange both sides.
Yes.
Oder? Kann man das da noch, ne?
Of course. Yes. Do you think it's interesting for you or not? Is it fresh?
They can't say no now, can they?
I know this.
So there is a yes we can to all of the
Yes, we
topic
can.
from the
Yes,
German
yes, we
side.
can.
Yes, we can.
Together, please. Yes.
Definitely.
Yes, we can.
Well, sure, I can say. I think it's all very interesting. I think for each of us individually who are doing research here, there's probably some sort of mapping exercise we can go through where we look at the things that faculty in each of the programs here are doing and try to see how that aligns there and then make connections. That there are a couple. Obviously, I'm interested in number 5. Our
Yes.
program is called.
It was a topic for you.
So
And
I'd
you have
love
a
to talk
master
more about
in
that.
comparative study. You have a
What's-
master program.
I do, and my
Yes.
PhD is at policy and comparative.
Oh, yeah, PhD was that, yes.
No, both.
Both?
Masters.
Oh, both.
Both.
All the way.
On the way.
And for the youth engagement and youth volunteering, I would be interested if there's a citizenship angle there.
Ah, okay.
Oh, yes.
There is.
We have an angle in citizenship to our social sciences department.
That's your,
Oh, yeah.
that's yours.
Germans are always well prepared.
So I've mentioned at first we can read English texts, no problem. We find them,
Okay.
then we read them. Talking is a little bit harder because of the phrases. Yeah, and sometimes we have seen we can't translate everything. Sometimes it's harder to translate, only to translate, because we are so used in some phrases. And then we see, oh, how is it in English? And that's the same in both ways. You are using some words, we can't translate it easy. We have to do long sentences to explain what you are meaning when you are saying. And that's the same in both sides, on both sides. But that's good. We can discuss it.
Great, well, I know there are a couple of people who need to leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
But some of us, anybody who would like to stay back and talk about further
Yes, yeah.
collaborations,
Yeah.
please, we have till 3. And I know you have to leave 3.
It's a good idea.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, that was really
Well, don't hesitate to come to Germany. It is really so that we are open to visitors, and for the doctoral students it's very easy, on a one-to-one basis.
Yes.
You can ask for a grant, and we can give you the chance to get some money in Germany too. It is unofficially, it's not for the camera, because if someone